Welcome to the Morning Slice.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Slice. This is Brianna McInerny. I am your host, and today we are talking about one of the most important questions that you can ever ask yourself, and that is, what do you want? What do you want? Today, I am going to talk about this question and how you might use it to better guide yourself through this day-to-day experience we call life, and how to use your desire as a secret weapon and a guiding light that no one can ever take away from you. So let's get into it. People have all kinds of experiences with desire. So before we start, why don't you take just a moment and think, what does desire mean to you? What does desire mean to you? What feelings does the word desire bring up for you when I say it? The Oxford Dictionary defines desire as a strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. That's the noun. It's also a verb, to strongly wish for or want something. And in my experience, it has always been very easy. It's been something inherent for me to identify what I want and allow that to guide me forward. A lot of people hear the word desire and they think frivolous. They think like something that is always going to lead you in a bad direction or an irresponsible direction. You know, that if you follow what you really want, you'll just be completely irresponsible all the time. Like you'll be sitting on the couch all day, you'll be eating bad foods for you, you'll be neglecting your loved ones and just like totally selfish all the time. And I'll get to more of this later, but I've found that is really not true, at least for the people who I tend to interact with. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm guessing it's not true for you. And the reason for that is because we actually want to do good things for other people. Like we actually care about making sure that our children and our pets and our homes are taken care of. We want to have good relationships. We want to have clean homes. We want to have healthy bodies, you know? So maybe right at first, following your desires could look like sitting on the couch all day and like eating unhealthy food. Especially if you have been like pushing yourself past your bandwidth, past your own boundaries for a long time. But ultimately, like our desires are more complex than that. They're deeper. They're rooted in, you know, the whole experience of the world and our interactions with other people. Because as humans, our relationships with other people define our ability to survive on this planet. They are a root of, you know, feeling fulfilled. Our relationships are everything to us. So if that's you and you feel like your desires are frivolous, then please stick with me. We're going to try to shift that for you today. And, you know, try it on. This doesn't have to work for everybody. Nothing that I say is a blanket for everyone all the time. But take what feels good to you and leave the rest. Another funny thing that can happen with desire is that it can feel really bad to desire things when we don't have the belief system to support that, when we don't have a belief system that supports us actually having what we want, or getting what we want. or we don't have the experience of other people being supportive of us going after the things that we want. Like, think about how many of us were raised to put our wants and needs on the back burner for the good of like the family, for the schedule of our family, for the needs of other people. Because of these things, a lot of us repress actively what we actually want, because we've learned that we have to put all of that in a box to effectively move through the world. So it can take a little bit of work to, open that box and actually identify what we want, because we are much more practiced at ignoring what we want in most cases. But, let's start unpacking. So, what I believe about desires, again, try this on, see how it feels for you, play with it. But I believe that our desires are divine guidance. And I can't take credit for that quote. I believe I heard that from Amanda Francis, who I've been listening to a lot of her work lately over the past year or so. She is very skilled at encouraging and empowering women to have better relationships with money specifically, but what she teaches really applies to all life. And she is excellent at redirecting people to the question, what do you want? Which has always been core to the work that I do as well in conscious wholeness. And just like I said, when we started my beliefs about the world, it's always been a natural thing for me to identify what I want and to keep on that like a dog with a bone and work until I get what I want. So one thing I love about that is that it helps personalize pretty much any piece of advice or whatever that you receive. Like, you can always kind of suss out what is for you and what is not for you with this question of, what do I actually want for myself? Again, I believe that this is a divine bit of guidance, and I personally see desires as something that arises in our body. And I believe that our bodies are part of the earth, we come from the earth and we return to the earth, and we are connected to each other on this earth. And desires arise in the body is almost like the earth's way of balancing itself, of telling us what it needs to move forward and expand, evolve, thrive, survive. And so our bodies, when we're able to identify those desires and accept them and bring them to our consciousness, I believe that, sends it up, if you will, out through the crown chakra, into more of a universal consciousness sort of experience, into the ether. And then that is received. And what we get back is inspired guidance that moves us towards the things that we want, and kind of working like a dance between the earth and universal consciousness to keep everything balanced, to keep everything healthy. This is just personally what I've experienced and come to know and believe for myself. And in that, I more and more over the years have trusted my desires, and encourage you to trust yourself to be able to build them, to receive your desires, and to keep the things that you want and treat them well. And I would love to talk a little bit about how to shift, how to shift from A to B. And the first thing to really look at is, what do you believe about desire? Like I asked you earlier. And do you believe that you can have what you want? Because again, it can be really painful to focus in on your desire if you don't really believe that you can have it. So a little work might need to be done preliminarily to explore that, to say, why don't I think I can have what I want? Is that ultimately true? That's another great AF question, and I'm going to link her in the show notes. Is that ultimately true? And spoiler alert, beliefs are never ultimately true. We get to choose what we believe on a day-to-day basis. You know, these things are not permanent, and there are very few things that are set in stone on this earth. We have a lot of choice. So can you choose that you do get to have what you want? What would that be like? Are you willing to play with this? You know? And so once you've created more of a foundation for yourself to actually believe that you deserve to have what you want, that you can get what you want, it's time to start really identifying then, what is it that you want? And maybe even more importantly, to get curious about why you want it. So, you know, because I think a lot of times people instantly go to material things that they want. Like, I want this sort of a house that has these features, or I want this car that, you know, has XYZ thing, or I want this amount of money in my bank account, this much in my investments, and I want to donate this much every year. And these are great pieces of information. But I think that the more important thing is to get really curious about why you want it. What are those things that you want going to provide for you? What do you believe about what that experience of having it will be like that makes you want it? And that can give you some really interesting information. Another thing is focusing on how you want to feel. That can be a really great way to kind of hone in on that. Why you want what you want is, how do I want to feel when I have that thing? Because the great thing about asking these sorts of questions is that we can almost always, I've never found a case where I couldn't give myself more of that feeling that I wanted right away. So as you identify that, like, how do you want to feel? Why do you want what you want? By all means, continue focusing on what you want and go out and get it, but also give yourself more of what you think that you'll have through getting that right away. So, like, for instance, I am looking for a house right now. I am very actively desiring a house right now. Almost every single day, I am writing about what I want and what features I want. I would love to have a beautiful big kitchen with an island that I love cooking in, and I can't wait to have gardens and land for my dog to run around on and for us all to enjoy together. Lots of natural light, lots of windows, etc., etc. But when I think about why I want that and how I want to feel, what I really want to feel is peaceful. I want to feel at home. I want to feel rooted in my place and safe, and like I can, build my home, build my household. So there are a lot of ways that I can incorporate that into my day-to-day right now until I'm able to actually find and receive and move into my house. I can cultivate more peace in my life. I can do things that make my current home more comfortable, and I can do things that help me feel rooted in myself, in my body, and in my space. Because spoiler alert, the most important thing is to make your body feel like home anyway. We we're stuck with ourselves for our entire lives, right? So everything that I ever share typically leads back to that. You have to love yourself. You have to come home to yourself and really lean on that as core your core method for doing pretty much anything, and taking control over what we can, but so once you have identified what you want, you've gotten curious about why you want it and identified how you want to feel, and you've given yourself more of that right away. Also, then follow your inspired action. You have to be willing to trust yourself and take the actions that you're guided to take to make it all happen. That's what I've got for you today on desire. I am going to drop some resources in the show notes for you. I mentioned Amanda Francis, so I'll link to her website. She sells all kinds of different programs. So let me know. Feel free to connect with me if you have questions about any of that. I'm also going to leave a link to book an epiphany session with me if you would like. Epiphany sessions are basically a time where we will get our heads together and we will focus on everything that we just talked about. We'll talk about what you want and why you want it, and we'll figure out how you can go out and get more of it today. So I would love to do that with you. You can find that link in the show notes. And again, just feel free to message me, reach out. I would love to hear in the comments how this landed for you. Please let me know any question I ask during a show. I would love to hear your responses in the comments. And if you want me to keep making these, truly just give me some love, give me some encouragement. It will help to bring me here with you more and more frequently. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I can't wait to talk to you again next time. This has been the Morning Slice with Brianna McInerny, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.